As a homeschool parent, I'm always wondering, at least a little bit, whether or not my child knows the right things and whether or not I'm teaching my child enough. And so in this video, I want to share 12 things that you need to teach your preschooler before they go into kindergarten. Please hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel so that you get notified whenever a new video is released. So when you're homeschooling in preschool, it's really important to make sure that your child is learning the right things. And so I want to share 12 benchmarks to consider that your preschooler should know before they go into kindergarten. And so benchmarks is just an educational word for things that your child should know. So here they are. First of all, your child should have some alphabet skills. Ideally, they should know the names of the letters, and they should be able to recognize both the capital and lowercase version of the letters. And they should know that the capital and lowercase letter both say the same sound and both are the same letter. So you want them to be able to match and recognize those letters together. You also want to start teaching them the sounds that each letter makes. Usually kids will continue to learn that skill in kindergarten and as they learn how to read. But just teaching kids that letters make sounds is a great start for preschool. Second, you want to work on writing skills. Your kids should be able to write some capital letters and especially the letters in their first name. You want to focus on those first. Kids usually have an easier time with letters that include mostly horizontal and vertical lines because diagonal lines are a little bit harder developmentally for kids to write. You also want to work on fine motor skills and hand-eye coordination. So helping kids to be able to hold a pencil or crayon, that's a skill that will continue to develop as their hands grow and develop, and as they have more fine motor skills, and also as their bones in their hands continue to develop. But just starting to learn how to hold a pencil, how to work with scissors, how to glue, like with a glue stick, how to fold a piece of paper, how to string beads, how to color, how to draw. So just a lot of these fine motor skills, you can start to introduce those when your child is in preschool. You also want to start to work on some basic math skills and number sense. So helping your kids be able to count up to 20, for example, or to be able to count items in smaller groups with a one-to-one correspondent. So when kids learn how to count, they learn the sequence of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 first, and then they learn to attach each of those numbers to exactly one thing later. So it's easier for them to memorize the sequence of numbers, and it's harder for them to be able to touch one thing while they count each number. But that's a skill to be working on in preschool as well, just with smaller amounts of things. You also want to work on discrimination with your preschooler. So that means sorting and comparing objects, recognizing things that are similar or different, and classifying different groups of objects. So if you have some animals, which ones are the dogs and which ones are the cats and which ones are the goldfish? Then you want to look at basic skills with calendar and time. So helping your preschooler be able to recognize the days of the week, the months of the year, the seasons, and giving them an exposure to telling time. Maybe they won't be able to tell time, but just exposure to the idea of time is really important. Preschoolers should also be really focusing on shapes and colors and vocabulary. So being able to identify their colors, knowing the basic shapes, knowing names of animals, names of body parts, all those kinds of vocabulary words. Vocabulary really expands when kids are in preschool. And so this is a great time to teach them the names for all of those different things. Preschool is also a really important time to focus on reading readiness. You want to teach your kids how to hold a book, how to open the book and turn the pages from left to right, beginning to end. You want kids to see that text is read from the top of the page to the bottom and from the left to the right on each line. And you want to be able to help your kids answer basic questions about a story to be able to predict what's coming next or to be able to apply that story to their own lives. You can do this by spending a lot of time reading out loud to your child. You also want to consider some other subjects to include, maybe music, singing and dancing, or doing some arts and crafts, or spending some time outside in nature. Preschool is a great time to help our kids practice social skills. So being able to identify and express their feelings with words, being able to wait for their turn and share and follow simple rules. All of those basic social skills are really important to practice with a preschooler as well. And then there are some additional general skills, being able to focus, knowing their full name, knowing their address and their phone number, knowing the difference between left and right, being able to get dressed independently, including buttons and zippers and shoes, recognizing cause and effect. And then finally, you want to help your preschooler work on gross motor skills. So things like balancing on one foot or jumping on 2 feet or skipping and hopping and galloping. These are all skills that preschoolers can work to develop. A list like this can seem pretty intimidating, but the great news is that preschoolers will learn a lot of these skills just naturally through play. But it does help to be able to see the list so that you can keep track over time and just make sure that there's not an area that you need to focus on a little bit more or something that your preschooler hasn't seen yet that you need to introduce. I do have this list available in a written form over on my blog. So I will put a link in the description of this video to where you can find that list to be able to print and check off and follow along with your homeschooler. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe to the channel. And please share in the comments, what is your preschooler working on right now?